Hi everyone, it's Elizabeth from Elpis Astrology at elpisastrology.com. Thanks for joining me today. So today I am going to do my interpretation of the astrology in the year ahead for 2023. I'm going to start off with, as the usual, an introduction to sort of lay the sort of appearance of what I see the astrology as, just generally speaking, and then I'll go into each of your ascendants and or sun signs as to what I feel is important for you in 2023. Now, interestingly, I am making this video just prior to that total full moon lunar eclipse that will be happening on the 8th of November 2022. So if you're listening to this early on, and when I publish this, which will probably be after, the publishing of this will be after the eclipse for sure. Just FYI, it does take a few days to process these videos. It's not just you make it and put it on YouTube. So I will discuss what I feel has happened, etc., at that eclipse and the fallout from it and potential meaning in the future in my December monthly video. All right, so let's get straight to it. Now, I personally feel, as an overarching sort of not theme, but sort of feeling of this 2023, we've got a lot of planets that are changing signs. And I feel that this 2023 could actually be a very positive year, just generally speaking from a collective level, where we actually see big changes happening that are positive. And then, of course, that translates down to an individual level. And I'll cover all that, as I said, in the individual signs. All right, so let's start going into some of the shifting in the ingresses. So when we talk about an ingress, we're just talking about a planet going into, ingressing, into a sign. So that's what we mean when we say that. So let's start off with Jupiter. So when we look at Jupiter, Jupiter's a 12-year cycle. So every 12 years, Jupiter's going to come around, right, to whatever sign it is in at that time. Now, Jupiter will go back into Aries towards literally the last few days of 2022, but it'll be fully in Aries starting in January 2023, right the way through mid-month of May 2023. So it's really just there for just under half the year. Certainly if you've got your Jupiter in Aries, you know, this is what's called your Jupiter return year. It's a very lucky year. Like Saturn, Jupiter tends to leave its big gifts and benefits towards the end of when it's finishing off in the sign, not necessarily at the beginning. Sometimes with Jupiter, what happens is events happen or things happen to you that are also unexpected, but somehow shift something for you, especially in terms of where you're supposed to be growing, right? Jupiter as an essence and an influence is really asking us, wherever it is in your chart by transit, to grow there, to expand ourselves, especially from a higher standpoint, right? But it can be like Santa Claus and bring you lots of gifts and benefits. All right, so for those that do have Jupiter in Aries, enjoy that first 6 months or so of 2023. And then, of course, Jupiter goes into Taurus. And this, I think, really will smooth over a lot of Taurians and Taurian ascendances' feathers for not only the rest of 2023, so it's mid-May. It's actually the 17th of May, 2023, Jupiter will ingress into Taurus. And it will stay there till the 25th of May, 2024. I just see this as a really positive influence, not only for Taurians and Taurian ascendants, but for sure for those folks that have been going through Uranus upsets, changes, and just real surprising things popping out of the woodwork. This Jupiter coming in here should really smooth things over and make things just a lot better, bring benefits where there were none, maybe even bring in some money for those folks that need that too, and really maybe help you grow in this area, generally speaking. We take it to a collective level. We're really looking here at growth probably in our money markets and maybe specifically in the real estate, Now, I mentioned in a previous video that there's going to be potentially in November 2022, that line in the sand where in the real estate market and maybe even in investments, things are going to take a little bit of a turn where there's a readjustment. But this now Jupiter going into Taurus has us maybe literally building more things. Construction could start increasing at this time because, of course, Taurus is the master builder, right? But certainly crops and that sort of thing could take on some new type of growth spurt where maybe we're looking differently at the way we grow our food. And certainly just from a standpoint of Jupiter being international, there may be some need for growth internationally regarding food and foodstuffs, right? Especially from mid-May onwards into, the end of May, basically 2024. But anyway, for all those Taurians, this could be something absolutely fabulous for you. And if I were to pick a month, I would pick May 2023 as a really outstanding month with regards to real solid, when we look at Taurus, it's a very solid sign. It moves slowly. It likes to get things right. It's persistent. And so we've got other things happening that will be, reinforcing this whole Jupiter in Taurus. And that's going to be, we're going to have a full moon that's going to be happening towards the end of May. But we also have an eclipse. Actually, it's a new moon, but there's a full moon that's going to happen in Scorpio, also in May. And a full moon, of course, says that the sun's going to be in Taurus. So I'd say May time period, there could be some big shifts on a collective level as well as from an individual level for those certainly that are Taurus or Taurus ascendances. So when we go up and look at Saturn, Saturn's also going to be changing signs. It's going to ingress into Pisces. And so I think this is beautiful too. If we look at Pisces operates at a very high level with regards to really our spiritual outlook on life, looking at things very compassionately. On the extreme end, martyrdom could come up. So there has to be care taken with regards to feeling you're under this obligation. So that's kind of on the negative side. This Saturn in Pisces could say you're obligated to do this. And certainly if you have something that aspects your chart, you might want to, think about that. It's great to be able to contribute to charities and to offer your services, but at the same time, you have to balance your life, right? And bring your own spirituality in to benefit you too. Now, of course, at this time, we're also going to have Neptune is still in Pisces too. So we've got these both out of the planets here, really pulsating away. They're not conjunct in 2023, and so they're operating separately, but they're still influencing spirituality, compassion, charity, that type of thing. Now, the other thing I thought with this Saturn in Pisces was also, Pisces can also rule that realm of drugs and alcohol and just living in a fantasy world too, right? And I thought I love this Saturn in here because it's going to be bringing a reality check. And my hope is that we're going to have some real treatments available for those folks, either from a psychiatric standpoint and or maybe drugs and alcohol, where we're going to see some real progress and some more permanent structures in place that can actually assist those that need it in those areas. I felt very optimistic about that. Now, Saturn takes, in terms of a cycle, Saturn is a 30-year cycle. So every 30 years, approximately, it will be coming round. So in 30 years' time, from 2023, it'll come round again into Pisces. But it won't have Neptune there. And Saturn is about a 2.5-year cycle. So we know that from 2023, we're going to have Saturn in Pisces for about 2.5 years, influencing that sign. So certainly for Pisces that maybe needed some structure, or Pisces ascendants, needed maybe some structure into their lives, this could be your answer, where, or you get some more permanent things happening in whatever area of your life is coming up with the Saturn influence, right? So Saturn ingresses into Pisces on the 8th of March, 2023, till mid-February 2026. And what's interesting in that time period where it ends being in Pisces, February 2026, we'll just at that time also have Neptune going into Aries. And I'll talk about that at a later time. That I see as the spiritual warrior, Neptune going into Aries. So if we look at the last time, certainly that we had Saturn here into Pisces, it was in February 1994. So certainly you can look back to see what was going on in February 1994 and for the 2+ years that it stayed in Pisces, and see maybe what themes came up for you, or maybe what structures were put in place, maybe even new responsibilities that you had. So some folks, it'll be maybe you got married, or you had your first child or second child, and that child now 30 years later is making their own way in life. As always, I love to hear from people, especially with long transits like this, 30-year transits. It's always useful to hear people comment, because you never know when you're actually helping somebody else, not just giving information, but helping other people that are viewers on my channel. So, in terms of what aspects Saturn may be causing from a positive and negative standpoint over its 2.5-year period in Pisces, we have squares that will be going to both Gemini and Sagittarius. So Saturn will be, at some point providing some challenges, but I always say those challenges are just asking you to think outside the box for Geminis and Sagittarius. For Virgos, of course, this is going to be an opposition for you. So, and I'll talk about this as an individual signs, but just generally speaking, it could have you having to deal with superiors, rules and regulations. Now for Cancers and Scorpios, we've got a trine happening here with Saturn. So if you've got your ascendant, sun, or a big conglomeration of planets, which I have in either Cancer or Scorpio, you can expect some real assistance here that you've not seen for 30 years with regards to either, rules and regulations working for you, or you setting down structures in your life that really work to support you, right? Those trines are there to support you. And so that's a good thing, right? Now, when we look at two other signs, we look at Taurus and Capricorn. There are sextiles that are formed to your sign with this Saturn in Pisces. And so this is a little lighter in terms of influence compared to a trine, but it provides you opportunities, should you choose to accept them. What are those opportunities? It could be opportunities to work with more senior people. It could be opportunities for you to put structures down in your life, but you have a choice. Do you want to do it or not? It could literally have, especially some Taurians, building things at this time where you get the green light to build your own home or to renovate your own home as well. But Capricorns will also have opportunities here too. It can also be new responsibilities. This may also be happening to some Taurians and Capricorns, where you have to take on additional responsibilities in your life. And this doesn't have to be a bad thing, right? It could be something like somebody gets pregnant and you have this welcome child that is now a potential in your life at this time. All right, moving down to Pluto. So Pluto is probably, Saturn's big too, but Pluto, really is a long-acting thing here. That's well over 250 years. We'll just leave it at round figures, but it's over 250 years in terms of it coming around to come into your chart again. So for the vast majority of people, if not all people, Pluto going into Aquarius is a once-in-a-lifetime thing in your lifetime, right? And so this happens on the 24th of March, 2023 to 2044. So it's a pretty long influence that we have here. I just see this as very positive too. Pluto going into Aquarius is really having us transforming a whole lot of things that are Aquarian. At its base, it will be transforming society and bringing it to a higher level. Enlightenment of how we should be treating each other is going to transform, right? I'm going to be more positive with regards to people being treated more equally here. But Aquarius also rules literally outer space and anything scientific. So I would say there's going to be great progress and great transformation with regards to our understanding of not only outer space, but science and anything in that realm that we don't know about yet. We're going to be enlightened over those years between 2023 and 2044. So stay tuned for what stuff we've not seen yet, right? Literally, we've not seen yet. That will help transform our world. Now, previously, a significant time period where we had Pluto in Aquarius was kind of around what was called a period of enlightenment. It was the US and French Civil War. I've already done a video on Pluto ingressing into Aquarius. I'll put the link down here below, and I went through all the sun signs and ascendants as well. I think you'll really enjoy it. I really tried to dig into some significant history as well to help people understand, at least get an idea of what might be ahead for you. Now, in terms of what effect this is going to have on different signs, Pluto going into Aquarius, first and foremost, is going to be opposing Leo ascendants, Leo suns, conglomeration of planets in Leo, but it really takes its time. So, I mean, Pluto in 2023 will barely get into 0 degrees and some minutes of Aquarius. It's really not going to be to the following year, 2024, 2025, that we really have Pluto exerting the effect. But make no mistake about it, my analysis tells me that we are going to see some big changes in 2023 with regards to how people are in our society are treated, right? There's going to be a bigger emphasis on fairness and tangibly being able to see that, right? Okay, so for you, Leo, this is going to have an effect of you having to deal with things probably from a standpoint of your partner. I'll get into it in your sun sign, but we'll just leave it at that. Now, when we look at squares, we're looking at a square to Taurus and, of course, to Scorpio. Now, as I said, this takes a long time for Pluto to start exerting effects. So unless you've got something at 0 degrees, or 1 degree, let's take it to there, the next few years will not be affected by squares or oppositions with Pluto at this time, right? And I'll continue to cover this over the years, of course, and bring things more into focus for you. And of course, there's always other things going on in the universe. It's not just this direct effect. Pluto, at its core, likes to transform things, and it also likes to illuminate the truth, right? Yeah. All right, so it forms some lovely trines to both Gemini and Libra. Okay, so this also is going to be bringing in some beautiful energy for both those signs with regards to transformation. And I'll cover a little bit more detail in each of your signs later on in the video. But this is positive energy again for transformation. So it just, with a trine, especially with a powerful planet like Pluto that likes to transform things, it will bring to Geminis and Librans just an easier, more satisfying, I guess, energy of transformation. It'll be easier to transform whatever it is that you need to transform over those many years. All right, we'll leave it at that for Pluto. All right, so the other thing that happens, of course, we have the north nodes, which currently, as I'm making this video, are still in Taurus, and they will remain into Taurus, for a little while into 2023. They actually change signs and go into Aries, which of course is the first sign of the zodiac, on the 18th of July, 2023. So certainly this is going to affect anybody that has their own north nodes in Aries. But as a sign, of course, Aries will be at the forefront with regards to changing destiny paths at this point. And it all depends, of course, what you have in Aries. But certainly the folks that have their north nodes in Aries will be very much affected by this. And of course, the opposite sign, which is Libra, is where the south nodes will be. So both Libra and Aries will have a direct effect over the next 1.5 years, from approximately mid-July to 2023. That's how long the nodes, the transiting nodes, stay in a sign. And importantly, the nodes, different than planets, they start at 29 degrees. So there's 30 degrees in every sign, right? And so the north nodes always start at the end of a sign and then go backwards. So in July 2023, those north nodes going into Aries will start at 29 degrees and then make their way back over a 1.5 years to come up to 1 degree and 0 degrees of Aries. So certainly I'm wishing a new wonderful destiny path opening up for those folks that do have their north nodes in Aries. And don't forget, we still have Chiron in Aries too. So there may be links for some people with true healing at this time, right? In terms of changing your destiny. Yeah. And I can cover that more. As I said, this is just more of an overview for folks. All right, so when we look at any of the retrogrades that are happening in 2023, obviously there's Mercury retrogrades. We've got 3 of them going on. That's typical. We can have more than that in a year, but in this year it's 3 of them. But notably, we have a Venus retrograde that's going to be happening, and it's in Leo. Now, Venus will be in Leo starting in June 2023, right the way through the first week of September. So this really covers that whole period of the summer period, right? And the summer period in many ways, especially like August time period, which is the height of summer, is really represented by the sign of Leo too. But the other thing that Leo represents is true love. It represents children. And individually, it represents our own business. And it asks us to be our authentic self. It gives us potential opportunities for anything creative as well. But the other thing that it covers is royalty. So typically we look at Leo and royalty being covered by that sign. And so I thought from a collective level that we could see between June and September 2023 some kind of big changes and developments with regards to royalty. Now this is a Venus retrograde, so I saw this as a number of things. Certainly when we talk about royalty, a lot of times the first thing we think of is British royalty. And for sure, we already know that this is going on with King Charles. But this time period of June to September, we'll see him changing a lot of things in royalty and the crown. There will be a lot of things that he changes up that will probably be more manifested and put into effect in September 2023. I thought with this Venus, I thought this could actually be some planned changes for those royalty that actually are females at this time. So I saw that as 2 things, British royalty as well as royalty that has females prominent at this time. There may be some changes there as well. And it doesn't necessarily have to be with the monarch or the queen. There could be other women that are very much influenced in here in royalty where there will be some changes. Hopefully, all positive changes. All right, the Mercury retrogrades, the first one that we have happen in 2023 is a Mercury retrograde in Taurus. So again, we're featuring Taurus here again, right? And this is going to start on the 21st of April at 15 degrees of Taurus. And it will go direct on the 15th of May, awfully close to that Jupiter going into Taurus, right? At 5 degrees of Taurus. So this Mercury retrograde in Taurus stays in Taurus. Sometimes it changes signs, and I'll talk about that Mercury retrograde in a minute. So this could have just some of us, this could have a reconsideration on a global level regarding our money markets again, right? Foodstuffs as well. There may have to be some kind of reorganization with regards to getting foodstuffs together during this time period, April to May 2023. But certainly for Taurians, this will directly affect you as well, especially if you've got something around the 15 or 5-degree mark of Taurus. We also have a new moon, supporting this Mercury retrograde going direct. And that's going to be a few days later. The new moon in Taurus at 20. So it's just a new moon, not an eclipse. 28 degrees of Taurus happens on the 19th of May. So again, this whole time period of May 2023, I think is a big, huge time of money changes, food types things, construction, in some respects, our security of ourselves, and the earth that we live on, right, may come up for some kind of important review isn't the right word, but importance that we have to take care of, right? All right, so the next Mercury retrograde we have happen is going to be on the 23rd of August, and that will be staying in Virgo, starting at 21 degrees of Virgo, and then it'll go direct at 8 degrees of Virgo on the 15th of September. Now, classically, we have Mercury retrogrades being a little more important if the Mercury retrograde happens in a sign that rules it. And that, of course, is Virgo and Gemini. So we know that the 23rd of August right through the 15th of September 2023, that Mercury retrograde is going to be important with regards to anything to do with communications, messaging, can be contracts as well. I say with the Virgo, get all your details correct and double check anything to do with contracts and that. Should you have to be signing something, say you've taken on a new job or something, or buying a house or something, that Mercury retrograde asks you to make sure you look at the details, right? The next Mercury retrograde is going to be in Capricorn. And of course, we had a Mercury retrograde happen the end of December, or start at the end of December 2022 too. So Capricorn, you're going to be hit here again by another Mercury retrograde in 2023. That starts at 8 degrees of Capricorn on the 13th of December 2023 and goes direct, but this time it's in Sagittarius. It goes direct at 22 degrees of Sagittarius on the 2nd of January 2024. And we also have with that Mercury retrograde going direct at 22 degrees of Sagittarius being in a fire sign, it will trine the north nodes, certainly in Aries at that time. So that's the 2nd of Jan 2024. So it's interesting, we've got those two signs highlighted here towards the end of the year and early next year, 2024. So check to see, again, 8 degrees of Capricorn or 22 degrees of Sagittarius. This may actually affect you directly. Okay, I think that kind of wraps up what I have to say with regards to an introduction to 2023. Again, I want to leave this with the fact that I feel this is a very positive year for us and that we've got a lot to look forward to that's going to be positive for all of us. But especially for society as a whole healing and society as a whole having a better fairness to and for everyone. All right, so next I'm going to start with our individual signs. And because this is a start of a new year forecast. All right, so Pisces, well, exciting times for you. You've got some structure and stability coming to your life with Saturn going into your sign. You're still going to be hosting Neptune there too, hopefully giving you great intuition and inspiration and spirituality. But with Saturn coming into your sign, generally speaking, we talk about Saturn coming into your sign, bringing you potentially responsibilities. But I really thought that with Neptune being in your sign, Jupiter was in your sign, you didn't really have any structure that you could tangibly hold on to. So I thought this was an excellent thing for you, Pisces, to have. Saturn coming into your sign, providing structure, providing guidance maybe, maybe even having somebody that's a seasoned person of some sort that's Saturn, actually bringing you something of benefit for you. And in some cases, literally helping put structure into your life. So I saw this as a really positive thing for those Pisces, say for instance, those Pisces who've had great inspirational ideas. There may be some Pisces that are very involved in music or any form of art or even dance. This Saturn coming in here could take those dreams that you've been having for maybe the last year or 2 years, and now you can actually see how you can put it together in some kind of tangible form. I saw that as outstanding in terms of an influence for some Pisces that are looking for that, right? But it brings, I thought, stability for you. It's your first house, Pisces. And I just felt with the effect of Neptune there, potentially providing confusion. Sure, it can provide great levels of spirituality and compassion. Those are lovely. But it can also provide this like dissolving type thing where you're just not sure about what's going on and you're confused. This Saturn will stop that confusion, no question of it. And it could even come in the form of a person too. Anyway, I saw that as I saw as Pisces being stabilized, Pisces having some structure in their life that they probably really need. Now, it can bring in responsibilities. So there'll be some Pisces, depending what your situation is, that you have to now take responsibility for yourself. That's kind of what that says. And this is a 2.5-year process. So consult with people that can help you, right? Especially for those folks that are maybe younger, maybe entering into the world on their own for the first time. Consult with people that are older that you trust to help you, incorporate these new responsibilities for yourself in a positive way. Now, Pluto in Aquarius is going to be in your 12th house. And so having Pluto in your 12th house, now the effects won't be, depending where you have everything, of course. Pluto works very, very slowly and methodically, though. And so it's going to take a while for Pluto to truly come into Aquarius. But technically, it does enter into Aquarius in 2023. You can probably look more to the next year for Pluto to be closer to the 1 degree mark. But in 2 years, Pluto will only go 1 degree. So we're looking 0 degrees to 1 degrees of Aquarius for Pluto making any kind of connections with, say, things in your chart. But just generally speaking, let's just talk about Pluto in the 12th house. So Pluto likes to seek out the truth. It likes to transform things. It too likes to enlighten you. And it certainly, when I looked at this, I thought, okay, for those folks that are actually serious about doing some psychological work on themselves, I honestly saw this as an awesome once-in-a-life opportunity to really help transform the inner workings of yourself. Others, it will have you putting a lot of energy and power into their spiritual lives. So, I would say Pluto in the 12th house, the best way to use this is to really put in-depth thought and energy into anything that is spiritual. So that covers the metaphysical world too. So there may be some folks that decide to get into the healing arts. Awesome way to use Pluto in the 12th house. Shamanic type things are very favored by Pluto in the 12th house as well. It also represents people of power. And so there could be people of power that you have to deal with for some reason over the next many years. But don't forget that Pluto will eventually, certainly after 2044, come up to conjunct your sign, Pisces, and then require you to do a lot of transformation personally. So I would say this whole Pluto in the 12th house would be an ideal time to literally clean up your house, to take a look at the things that you have, everything in your life, especially stuff that you've been putting under the carpet or basically just ignoring. This would be an ideal time for you to clean things up. To purge, for instance. Pluto will help you purge happily. Marie Kondo could come in handy really well at this time, where you really clean things up in your life so that once Pluto comes up to your sign, you will be ready to go, right? You don't want to be tripped up by this. I mean, the other thing that the 12th house represents too is just straight out rest. So Pluto could bring you literally transformation through you getting more rest. And there will be some Pisces people that maybe have not been getting their rest for whatever reason. And you take this opportunity to get more rest, to maybe put some structures in place that support you of getting rest so that you can perform better, right? But a lot of this 12th house is going to be purging stuff out of your life, hey, that you don't even relate to anymore, that don't mean anything to you. At the extreme end, there might be some Pisces that just decide to get rid of everything. They decide, I'm going on a spiritual journey here, and I want to get rid of everything in my life. There's going to be some, Pisces that do that. And it's interesting, I've had at least one client, an older client of mine that did that. And she's landed in this phenomenal spiritual community where everything is going really, really well for her. And it was just such a beautiful story that's what she decided to do. She wanted to do that. But this is also transforming your inner world, right? And the 12th house is also karma. So for those folks that have been struggling with aspects of karma, this could bring in huge opportunities to transform that karma for the better, right? Yeah. So this year, when we have Jupiter going into Aries, this will be in your second house. So, hey, Pisces, this is an opportunity for you to increase your income. Opportunities to increase your income could be there for you, certainly for those first few months. So Jupiter goes into Aries literally the last few days of December 2022, basically stays to mid-month May 2023. So these are great times if you want to increase your income or look for favorable people to help you do that, or favorable situations. I would suggest that time period might be really good for you. Now, when we look for Jupiter going into Taurus, it'll go into your third house. In fact, all things Taurus will aspect your third house. And guess what? It favorably sextiles your sign, Pisces. Tons of opportunities coming your way, with regards to any kind of communications. Any writing for those Pisces that are writers of any sort. It also rules kind of early education or, courses that are short-lived. There may be a lot of Taurians that decide to take up some of those, maybe more than one of those. That is a successful thing to do with Jupiter being, not only Jupiter being in Taurus, but all the things that are happening in Taurus, which will continue on through 2023, right? May is a month where really there's a lot of mostly positive energy that's happening in Taurus. And so as this aspects your third house, for those Pisces that say are doing writing projects, I would say try to use May as a time when you could have positive things set in place, whether it's you literally writing something, or getting it reviewed, or maybe publishing it. I mean, third house is not publishing, that's the opposite house, the ninth house, but that's okay. The eclipses that are happening in Taurus and Scorpio will still be aspecting your ninth house too, throughout 2023. So for those Pisces that need to publish, make the efforts, to do your diligence with regards to the writing, because you could get a lot of assistance and maybe even unexpected things whooshing in to help make things happen with regards to getting it published too. The third house also represents siblings. So there may be some Pisces that have been out of touch with their siblings. And this just brings in opportunities to increase communication with those folks, right? It may also, for some Pisces, have you interacting more in either your neighborhood or maybe your neighbors itself for some reason. Maybe even, I just got this idea of setting up a community garden. That would be so awesome. I mean, gardening for sure is associated with Taurus. And that would be a great way for some Pisces to work with others to set up a community garden. I love that. And May is a great time, generally speaking, in the Northern Hemisphere, right, to start something like that. You could aim for May 2023 being the launch of that. Keep me posted if someone is actually doing that. Now, speaking of Mars retrogrades in Gemini, that Mars retrograde operated in your 4th house, and it formed a square. So there may have been some Pisces that had to be dealing with stuff in the home, just straight off. And it was frustrating, where you thought a project was moving forward and then it wasn't moving forward. So the not moving forward is during the retrograde period. And that started on the 30th of October 2022, but it ends on the 12th of January 2023. It still has to go through the shadow period. I would say March would be an ideal time to be viewing as things moving forward with regards to, maybe for some Pisces it might have been a home project, maybe renovation. Others it may have been buying or selling a home. I would say March could be, it might be February too, because Mars comes out of the retrograde on the 12th of January. But look more for, I would say, March as a time period where things will get resolved and things will actually start moving forward again. For others, you may have had some contentions with your family and or your mother, where you've had to resolve some issues that were there. And the Mars retrograde may have worked out to be very positive, or is going to work out very positive for you with regard to resolving maybe some family issues or some mother issues. With the square, always look outside the box. And with Gemini, remember you have to work with others. So just keep those two things in mind when you're trying to resolve differences, but know that things will be resolved. Look for late February, March for resolution in anything 4th house related, Pisces. All right, Pisces, your new moon is at 1 Pisces 22 minutes, and that happens on the 20th of February 2023. So that marks the new year for all Pisces. But in particular, for those Pisces that say have anything like an ascendant, a sun, or a conglomeration of planets, say anywhere between 0 Pisces, I will take it right up to at least 2, maybe even 2.5, 2 Pisces. This gives a bigger bump of the newness for that birthday year, if you have something in between those degree or on those degree points. Please take care of yourself, Pisces, and leave me comments. You know I'd love to hear from you. All right, everybody, that wraps up this video. Thank you for listening. I want to thank all my viewers, both my viewers as well as my listeners on Spotify. I really appreciate all your support by coming to my channels. It makes a big difference in what I can give and do for you. But I want to put out a special thanks for my clients all this year. You've made a difference to me making better videos. I've been able to purchase better equipment to bring a better quality of video to you. Hopefully you've noticed that. All right, I'm wishing everyone a great 2023. I'm very optimistic for it. A lot of things are going to be cleared up and a lot of things being put in place that'll benefit all of us. If you want your chart done, of course, I would love to do it. It's an ideal time to do it, end of the year or the beginning of the next year. Bye for now, everybody. Sending you lots of love and lots of positive energy for a great 2023. Bye for now.